So, character design. It's fun to make characters, but how should you design them to make them look somewhatly close to the personality and feeling you gave that character instead of some form of strange demonic mess? Do not worry, for I am here. I will explain the basic aspects of character design, and then you, my fellow artists, will do whatever the hell you want with that information. What we will be going over first is shape language, silhouette, color, and then what I like to call extra details. Now, I want to preface this. The way in which people design characters may vary based on the medium in which the character is being used for. For example, there are major differences in how one would design a character for a game than a TV show, depending on the type of game or the type of show. However, the principles I will tell you do remain consistent in all of these things. They just may not be as prevalent depending on the medium. Shape language is a little special guy. It is the very guy that is rather important when it comes to character design. It is usually there, but may not be overly prominent in all designs. What we need to know about shape language is that each shape carries a different meaning. The simple ones to compare are squares, circles, and triangles. Squares are often used for solid characters, however, it can also be used for more energetic characters as well. This could either mean strong or professional or loud and fun. Additionally, circles are usually used to express softer characters. Maybe they are kind or innocent or even naive. It also can be used for bright and energetic characters or shy and quiet characters. As for triangles, they are often used to showcase scheming characters. Usually we do associate triangles with evil characters, Maleficent is a great example. However, they can be used for other characters past that. Usually these characters have a tendency to be morally gray, and a little depressing at times. However, it is good to note that this can change if we slightly alter the shape, like making the edges of the square rounded, which may give the square a much softer feeling. In that case, we may associate someone with a shape like that as strong but kind. Moreover, we can combine shapes to create different meanings. This can be seen in almost all characters in media. Another thing you could do is use shape language to create irony in a character. You can make a character that seems kind and sweet, but is actually a feisty menace to society. Silhouette is integral when making unique-looking characters. They help us make a character that not only looks different from the other characters in the series, but also to make a character that can stand out in comparison to other characters in other media. This is where we can use shape language not only to help emphasize the character's personality, but also to make the character's silhouette look interesting. Sure, we might have two characters with unique faces and clothing, but if they have the same silhouette, it may be difficult to tell them apart. If you can tell who the character is through their silhouette, then you've done it correctly. This rule is rather lenient, and you don't necessarily need to make the most unique silhouette. However, I still recommend trying it out. Colors are also important. Making cohesive color schemes for a character will make them easier to look at. There are many different ways to build up a color scheme and far too many to name, but it's often recommended to use 3 colors. Although using 5 is fine, sometimes the character may seem cluttered if you use too many colors in a design. Colors also help set the mood of a story. For example, say you have a dark and gritty detective story, the color scheme you may use could be more brown or grayish to further emphasize the setting. If you put a brightly colored character in such a setting, it might be jarring for the audience. Things like this should be noted when choosing colors for a character. An extra step for choosing colors might be color symbolism, but this doesn't necessarily need to be done. Now, as for the extra detail segment, this is how I often like to go about adding extra details in a character design, but this doesn't need to necessarily be followed. I often add references within my designs, whether this be symbols or just like cultural references. I also may include things related to the culture I'm designing them off of. For example, how I designed my character Valdis, and how I have referenced the 19th century whilst also referencing other things through his design. Just know that doing this may make the designs way more detailed, so you should keep that in mind. Overall, character design is a very complicated concept, but through hard work and suffering, you should be able to make a cohesive and entertaining character design that you feel satisfied. As long as you're happy with it, that's all that matters.